Well, joining us is the Labour MP Ian Murray, who's a member of this group. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Hayley.
Explain how this would work.
Well, essentially, we're trying to test the proposition that it would be lawful or even constitutional for the Prime Minister or any Minister of Government to just close down Parliament in order to get an outcome that the Parliament wouldn't be able to have a say on. So we're petitioning the Advocate General to suggest that he should give a ruling to suggest that the constitutional unlawfulness of this is indeed wrong. And
why at this stage and why in Scotland?
Well, it follows the Whiteman case, and because the Advocate General is the UK Government's law officer in Scotland, then we're asking that particular body to make the case in the Whiteman case. The same process took place at the Court of Session and indeed then the Supreme Court to suggest that the Article 50 process could be unilaterally revoked by the UK Government. So we're using the same procedure, as I understand it.
And, I mean, how hopeful are you that this will succeed?
Well, there's two things, actually. There's the legal process that's running through as the petitioners to try and get this reasoning from the UK Government's law officer, but also there's the political side as well. I mean, it seems very strange that the new Prime Minister would want to close down Parliament when indeed the entirety of that new Prime Minister's cause back at the EU referendum was to take back control for Parliament. Now,
if that is to be Boris Johnson, as most people are, beginning to think and assume really at this stage, he did pull back from that initial threat to prorogue or suspend Parliament, though, didn't he?
Well, I hope he does pull back, but don't forget that Boris Johnson last week during the Northern Ireland Executive Bill, where some of the prorogation amendments went through, voted against them. So if he was so confident that he wasn't going to prorogue Parliament, he perhaps should have either backed those amendments or indeed voted for them. So we're unsure what Boris Johnson does. He's done everything. If this is all about Boris Johnson, it's not about the country or not about even the way that he governs. So we'll find out today if he does become Prime Minister. He's got there on a strategy of lying to the public, and let's hope that he's not lying to the public again and he doesn't prorogue Parliament.
Don't you perhaps swap one constitutional crisis with another one by bringing the courts into conflict with the government?
Oh, not at all. In fact, our entire constitution and rule of law is based on the fact that we have a parliamentary democracy that's underpinned by any individual citizen being able to apply to the courts to ensure that the government are staying lawful. It's part of our democratic process and something that we should cherish.
And you've launched a crowdfunder to back this, I understand.
That's right, and it's a very similar crowdfunder to was launched before in order to fund the legal process. It costs about £40,000 to take one of these actions, but indeed, of course, we need to fundraise double that in case we lose the case and the courts will grant costs to the government.
And can I also ask you, while you're with us, about Jeremy Corbyn last night announcing changes to Labour's complaints system to speed up the expulsion of members over anti-Semitism. Does this go far enough for you?
Well, I don't think it does go far enough. I think the best thing for the Labour Party to do at the moment would be to bring in an independent arbiter completely to look after this process. It seems that the current process has failed. It seems that the proposals that have been put forward last night by the leadership of the Labour Party and indeed don't go far enough and are too little too late. We want an independent panel brought in, not just to look at the individual cases, but to look at the process of what's happened here. There has no doubt been meddling from the leader's office in some of these cases, and that surely can't be seen to be going on if we have to have natural justice for everyone who's accused of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party and indeed right across society.